Hello and welcome back to the John and Adrian podcast. Today we're going to start off with some baseball talk. We're going to get right into it. When we were recording our episode on Monday earlier this week, there was a game between the San Diego Padres versus the Texas Rangers. And in that game, Fernando Luis Jr., an up-and-coming baseball player. Some people say he could be the face of the MLB in a couple years if he keeps on projecting to be this good player. Hit a grand slam. And for those of you that don't know, a grand slam is basically the most amount of points a single player can get at one time, which is 4. Bases loaded, boom, home run, grand slam. But people, the Texas Rangers more specifically, were very upset at him for doing this because this was going into the 7th inning. The San Diego Padres were up 10-3, so they were up by 7 runs, and Tatis was on a 3-0 count, which means he had 3 balls and 0 strikes. So it was a go-ahead hit, and he hit it for a grand slam, and they were very upset. The Texas Rangers then proceeded to throw at the next San Diego Padre batter. They missed. That pitcher was ejected. The team manager of the Texas Rangers was ejected and I think suspended for the following game. And I think that's stupid baseball. It's stupid. It was literally...
What's stupid? The ejection or the fact that they stooped to throwing the baseball at him?
Okay, no, a bunch of old MLB fans are upset at the situation because they're upset at Tatis. They're not upset at the Rangers. They're like, yeah, the Rangers, that's what they do. That's what they were supposed to do in response to what he did to them. So, there's this unwritten rule in baseball where if you're going into the 7th inning or later, I believe, if you're up by 6 runs or more and you're on a 3-0 count, you don't swing the bat. You just let the pitcher throw the strike, dead center.
I don't care. I say if you don't want to get the score run up on you, don't let it get run up on you.
It's that type of thinking, I feel like, is what's holding baseball back, right? Because, I think the average viewer base for baseball is 56. I want to say it's old. Mainly older people watch it, and I watch baseball, but I'm more interested in stats and stuff. Rarely do I catch a baseball game. It's more ooh, how are the numbers for today, right?
Yeah, let me check up the scores,
Yeah, how are the numbers? But it's just... Also, if you think about it, baseball players are paid to hit baseballs. So if he doesn't hit that baseball, that's 4 less RBIs, that's 1 less home run, right? His stats are worse.
Especially baseball, I think, is more stat focused than any other major game. So for him to pass up on a grand slam would be very detrimental to future contract talks for him.
Yeah, it would give him less money. So it's a stupid thing. And not only was the Texas Ranger manager upset at Tatis after the game, his own manager was upset at him too. He was he said something along those lines of oh, Tatis didn't know the rules. We'll have to tell him about it. We'll have to teach him. And so in my eyes, that's a terrible manager. And
He's gonna have an apology video drop it.
No, you're a manager of an organization, and he was I think he's brand new to the organization too. Mm-hmm. He was brought in as a player's manager, I believe. So his whole job is just to be liked by his team. And I feel that's a terrible way to get liked by your team.
Well, I wonder, do the other players on the team feel like Tati was in the wrong as well? Or is it just media? Have any MLB current players said something against Tatiana?
No, the Cincinnati Reds pitcher, which we'll get into here in a bit. I have something to talk about him as well. He tweeted, at Tati saying, keep swinging at 3-0 balls. If a pitcher is bad enough to leave you on a 3-0 count, 3 balls, 0 strikes, you swing, because that next pitch coming in it's going to be a good pitch because they have to throw in the strike zone or they're going to walk you, right? So he was like, keep swinging at it, keep being you. Who cares about like old people?
So maybe I'm stupid about
Yeah.
baseball. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I know.
it was loaded bases.
Yes.
So if he didn't swing, he gets to walk, meaning
No.
that the guy
Okay.
no.
Well, in this situation, the next pitch coming was a strike. Like it was dead center in the strike zone. Like a pitch that anyone that can hit baseballs will undoubtedly hit it out of the park. You know what I mean?
Hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if like more often than not,
So what did they want him to do? That's
just
what
take
I'm
the pitch,
asking.
take the pitch, take the strike. So make it a 3-1 count.
Oh, they wanted. Okay.
Yeah, it's dumb.
But wait, why would that change? So do they want him to just keep taking that until he gets striked out, or does he eventually he eventually has to hit the ball, right?
That's the thing. It's like
I
there's
don't
this.
understand what the team is expecting of him, because either he gets struck out and he sucks, or he gets
Right.
the grand
That's
slam
the dumb
and
thing
he
about it.
sucks.
It's like so they were the Padres were up 10-3, so they were up by 7 runs in the 7th inning, which no lead in the MLB is safe in my opinion because like you could have one inning where a team just can come back. It's one inning like
Yeah, you could have one inning where like the whole team goes through and hits the base, so it's like
baseball is not a time sport. It's you have like 26 outs, and if you don't get through those 26 outs, like they can score as many points.
Yeah.
But so in his situation, it was a 3-0 count. So it was 3 balls, 0 strikes. The next pitch that came in was obvious. It was going to be a strike. It was a strike. So what the Rangers wanted him, and what the unwritten rule in baseball apparently is for him to take that pitch, meaning he does not swing. He just stands there and looks at it.
Well, what does he do on the next pitch then?
I believe take it.
Just take it again, and he keeps taking it till he's out.
It's I don't know. It's really it's dumb. I don't know. It's just a dumb thing, and it shows how dumb baseball is. And then another thing that shows how dumb baseball is that pitcher I talked about earlier, Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds. He was supposed to start a game, I believe, last night, and he had these cleats with. How familiar are you with the Astros cheating scandal?
Very familiar.
Right.
I am aware of almost everything.
Right. So the Astros are a terrible organization that cheated for a World Series ring, and baseball did nothing. They didn't ban any player off that team. And so in a game versus the Dodgers a few weeks back, Joe Kelly, a pitcher for the Dodgers, threw at Astros players and got suspended for 8 games, I believe. And so Trevor Bauer, in his start, like yesterday, he wore cleats, or was going to wear cleats that had the Joe Kelly like meme on his face, like the little kissy face he did at the opposing players, and like on the other cleat, free Joe Kelly. So obviously, like, it's a major movement in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, Joe Kelly should not have been suspended for throwing at the Astro pitchers, because the Astros should have been suspended for what they did.
Astros shouldn't have been in that game in the first place.
Right. So he got so the MLB reached out to every single person on Trevor Bauer's team. So the Reds organization, his agents, like everybody that has a say in how much money Trevor Bauer makes or like plays, they reached out to and said, if he wears those cleats, he will get ejected from the game. He will get suspended, and there will be hefty fines if he wears those cleats. And so Trevor Bauer ended up not wearing the cleats, and later on tweeted how terrible baseball is for not letting him wear the cleats, obviously. Like, how bad of an like, the MLB doesn't know how to pick its battles. I think it's so dumb for them.
MLB's dumb.
Because,
like, people criticize, Roger Goodell or these NFL player and owners for being corrupt or bad, but then you look at the MLB and it's just like that's nothing compared to what's happening over there right now.
No, that's also the reason why there wasn't a full season of baseball. It's only 60 games. Is because the MLB and Rob Manfred don't know how to handle anything. It's just it's terrible. Like, and
Because what it's normally 160, right? Or
it's
164, something like that.
162, I believe. Yeah, and
162.
but
So they're
there's
shortening it by 102 games. Like,
around, yeah. But the MLB season, right when everything started shutting down, was when they were supposed to start. They were like in spring training, essentially.
mm-hmm.
And originally, there was talks of like a bubble in Arizona, this and that. And it was like reducing the season down to like 80 games, which is, or, so the talks were out there like 60 games as well. But if
Yeah.
it all came down to like players' salary and like how much they were going to get paid, like if it was going to be like their salary of like what they should have gotten for the actual year, or
Mm-hmm.
like, and obviously they got the season together, but the season should have started way sooner and there should have been something, right?
Yeah.
Like they were in the prime position to like be the only sport playing, but obviously they got beat by the NBA, they got beat by like the WNBA, they got beat by hockey, I think. Or no, hockey started last week. I don't know actually, but like they were so late to the party on figuring out
Yeah.
how to
And
do
they
it.
should have been first.
Mm-hmm. And so it's just dumb. I don't know.
Speaking
That's
of
my rant.
which, do you know how female leagues are doing? Because they weren't doing all that great to begin with, but I know the WNBA is still playing, but are they going to be able to sustain it through the pandemic? Because I'm looking at, the numbers, and they don't bring in that much money to begin with. So with them not bringing in even less money, I don't see how much long. Do you think Corona could kill the WNBA
Mm,
like it killed the XFL?
you're right. It did. I don't. See, that's the thing. I don't watch the WNBA, so I wouldn't know, right? I don't know how strong of a league it is, because obviously it's
Well,
been going on for such a long time that I feel like they
well,
have some
it's
reserve, right?
no, they get a $10 million donation every year from the
Oh, I see. Okay, then if they're propped up by the NBA, then they should be fine.
NBA.
Honestly,
But I'm thinking if it comes down to where that's the only thing keeping them up, which I
mm,
mean, you could argue maybe it already is, but
right?
if that gets down to like that's like 90% of their overall income for the year, then I think the NBA might say, hey, all you good players, you could just transfer over to this league because we're not going to pay to keep this one up anymore.
Right.
And if they do that, then obviously I don't think very many of those female players will make a roster in the NBA. And if they do, it won't be a good roster. So I think slowly the league could just die out and female basketball players could just disappear outside of the NCAA.
I mean, women's basketball is dope. I don't know,
It
or like
is.
women's.
I prefer NCAA women's
Yeah,
to men's
it's more
NCAA. I think
exciting.
it's a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
But the WNBA is different from that. I feel
it
like
is.
if you don't know a certain select few players and are willing to watch them play against their bad play, that's my thing is being really good in the WNBA, I feel like sets you really far apart between even an average WNBA player, but you still are so far behind a bad NBA player that you can't switch over. So it's like it's frustrating to watch you succeed in the WNBA, and it's just as frustrating if you were to go and fail in the NBA. I just feel like that really sucks for the few female athletes who are genuinely good at their sport.
I mean, yeah, it is definitely gonna be interesting to see how some leagues handle the lack, because I feel like the WA more than anything, because I don't think that many people watch it on TV. It's
Mm-hmm.
more of they actually live off genuine people being there. or
Yeah.
actual people being there. So yeah, that'd be interesting to see if it still exists or if it can even grow. Because I think what the WNBA is missing is like the star power of the NBA or like other
Yeah.
sports leagues. Is like
I think another thing is a lot of WNBA players, if they are a star, get compared to NBA stars. And
right,
so then
which
people
is
who hear that, they try to go watch it and they're like, what the heck? She's nothing like Anthony Davis. She's nothing like Kyrie Irving. Like they expect an equal product that isn't there. And I think expectations need to be lowered and then the appreciation of that league would go way up.
right. Like it's a different league with different like how things operate. You're not gonna
Yeah.
see like slam dunks on like
Yeah.
fast
Like two
breaks.
players in the whole league could dunk ever, let alone.
Right. Yeah, I think it's slightly more than that, but yeah, I think you won't see
Yeah.
dunking
It's a
really.
very slim amount.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully in a couple of years, or hopefully they find a superstar. The
Yeah,
girl,
see, like I'm hoping for that, but I feel after seeing the XFL go down, I'm worried that the WNBA could follow the same fate, which would which I don't like because if you enjoy watching the women's NCAA, then once those girls graduate, you don't watch them anymore. And it's like those are really good basketball players who aren't going to the WNBA
right,
anymore. So
right,
what are they doing? Like they WNBA or female basketball players have to get a degree to be successful in life because of the lack of security that their sports leagues have.
right. I mean,
Whereas,
I think some women's like basketball players and like women's sports in general mostly go to Europe to find
mm,
to play basketball and to play their sports because it's just more. I don't think it's more lucrative, but they have more of an opportunity to
yeah,
like to play, right? Because like we forget that like a bunch of NBA or not NBA players, but like guys on the lower end of NBA rosters, guys that are in and out of the G League, sometimes just drift to like the Italian league or
yeah,
the Australia league, right? Like there's other leagues out
yeah.
there that they drift off to. Did you want to flip over to the NBA playoffs? I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Uh,
Do we want to recap Wednesday's games?
Wednesdays. Yeah,
That
we
was yesterday.
we should. We
I
should.
think, yeah. So this yesterday was the first day, right?
Uh, no, not
No,
yesterday.
2 days ago was
Tuesday was the first day, right? No, we
Tuesday.
recorded on Monday. That was the first day.
That was the first day. So
That
the
was
Nuggets. We already talked about those games though
we did
on Monday. Yeah.
hmm
So Tuesday is where we're picking up. I love the Magic beating the Buccaneers.
or the
I
Bucks.
love the Bucks, the
They
Milwaukee
stole a
Bucks.
game. They stole a game.
They did, and it's very ironic that both the 8 seeds stole a game against
That
one
first.
seeds that are just seen far and above everyone else.
hmm
Although I watched the end of the Lakers game
Today or
and
on
not the one today, the
okay the
one
one.
on Tuesday,
hmm
and I think with like 4 minutes left,
It
the
was
Lakers were
frustrating.
up by
It was
like
very
10 or
frustrating to
something.
watch.
I
Yeah.
don't know. And so I just was like, oh, we're going to win. And so I left. And then I woke up the next morning. I'm like, what the heck? How did this happen? What?
Well,
How do you blow that lead
it was
within that
mainly
time span? So I need you to recap that for me because I didn't even see it. I
it
just
was really
assumed.
frustrating to watch because I believe Anthony Davis had like minus 20 in the second half of the game, or it might have been the entire game. I don't like he was not great for the
It
second
was
half of that
bad.
game.
Yeah.
KCP was terrible. He utterly garbage. Garbage. All right, I'm gonna read off his stat line. All right, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 point. 1 1 1 for 30 minutes of production. That's what he could produce. So garbage.
You're getting cut.
Danny Green could not make a 3-point to save his life. Absolute garbage. He scored 10 points, but like for the amount of bricks he threw up,
That's just a down game for him.
Yeah.
I expect him to come back.
I mean, if we want to talk about the game, this game, he did not come back.
He did not. I know we won tonight.
We won, but he did not come
because
back.
of him.
No, not because
but we blew them out, so it didn't matter.
He
we didn't need him tonight.
In this game, he scored 3 points and was 1 for 3. He missed all of his shooting attempts and made 1 3. He only shot 6 times, he shot 6 times in total, but out of those 6, 4 were 3 points, 3-pointers, 3-point attempts. That's yeah. So, and he only made 1 3, and that's his only points for the game. And then other than that, he did not. He had. Let me look. He had. This isn't this one. I want to say he had a rebound or 2.
I hate the way the stats are laid out on the Google homepage.
Yeah, the Google homepage doesn't give you anything. Yeah, he had 2 rebounds and an assist. Oh, he had 4 steals though. I mean, I can get behind 4 steals. Good. Yeah.
But I'm looking at the first game and I see Carmelo Anthony and I see a 38 and I'm like, damn, Carmelo.
Yeah,
38 points,
it's minutes. It's minutes. Yeah, Google. I don't like Google stats because it gives you the basic stats and it's not even laid out properly.
It tells you whether or not they got a triple double and then it tells you their minutes.
Minutes should be at the end because that's the least important.
Points are at the end. And that's
it should be points, assists, or points, rebounds, assists, but it's flipped for some reason. I don't know. It's weird how they have it. Yeah, the first game, Damian Lillard. Yeah, he popped off. Lillard. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Lillard.
Kuzma did pretty good in the first game.
Yeah, he towards the end he was taking a commanding presence. Are you talking about this game?
The first game.
Yeah, the first game.
One.
Yeah. He did good, I'd say.
Yeah.
For being a role player, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, he played good down the stretch. I like the way he was playing. It was just a terrible, sloppy game. I mean,
and then we came back in the second game
and destroyed them. Or Anthony Davis had a really good game. LeBron, he had a game. He didn't fall out like he did in the first game, but he was still productive.
He didn't need to.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis drops 31.
Yeah.
KCP came out with
he did. He actually you know what? Which is needed for him because we definitely need that. And then JR, that was a big complaint of the first game was that JR didn't have he didn't have any minutes that first game, and this next game he had 11 and he had 20. He had points. Yeah, he was productive.
Stats. It messes you up.
Yeah, it messes me up.
I like when I look at the stats and I see that we beat them in shooting percentage in all 3 stats. I think that is a big factor because that's why teams like the Rockets don't succeed. Because you look at the first game, they beat us in all percentage.
Yeah, they were killing it from 3, and then we had Danny Green and CP3 or CP, whatever his nickname is, KCP. his nickname. They were just bricking threes, and Anthony Davis isn't known for his 3-point percentage, or his 3-point shots. So
no center should be
right. So neither is LeBron for that matter. But the league is more shifting towards the 3 ball, and they just couldn't hit it. Oh wow, we absolutely murdered them this game. Their biggest lead for the Lakers was 33 points, and then early on, the Blazers, their biggest lead was 2. So it was
Blazers fans getting all hyped, and then just no.
I mean, it's a best of 4, right? Or best of 4.
The Blazers, I've been told, historically do pretty good against us, even when they're bad and we're good.
So I mean,
we can't say, "Oh, we won it this second game, so we're gonna win."
Yeah,
that's not how.
So we have to
unfortunate
finish out. But even then,
next is the Raptors Nets. I feel like that's
the Raptors have taken both games There's not much to say there. The Raptors are winning like they should be winning.
Yeah. Celtics 76ers.
Hold up.
Celtics also won both games.
They won both
Demetrius
games.
texts me. He says 76ers in 4 before the game starts. And I'm like, hell no.
Oh no. That's terrible. Yeah, no, the Sixers, I think Embiid is injured or he's not 100%. And then the Celtics, I told you this last week or on Tuesday, or technically Mondays when we recorded the episode, but it comes out on Tuesday. I told you this, that when I watched the Celtics 76ers game, the Celtics were winning, but there was too many instances of like a player going down and that bit him in the butt when Gordon Hayward actually got injured and is not playing. He's out for a couple of weeks.
The thing, and it doesn't look like Embiid's the problem. He had 26 and 34 in the 2 games. It looks like
it's the bench around him.
And Tobias Harris aren't stepping up.
Yeah, it's rough to look at the Sixers.
And Tobias Harris, go ahead.
It's rough to look at the Sixers and go like, because they tanked, right? They had the trust the process, and they whiffed on 2 draft picks, just straight up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they hit on 2, so I guess that's 50% of your draft picks you hit. It's not great, but it's not bad.
It sounds bad, but in sports it might not be.
Yeah,
you have to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Even then, like the roster they'd been building up for the past couple of years, it's different from the one they had last year, and they still lost. But they traded a lot for Tobias, and he's just not producing.
It seems like outside of Embiid and Simmons, they aren't willing to commit to anything. Like if it doesn't work that year, we're gonna get rid of it and try something else.
Right.
And
which is funny.
Process. That's just
they have their 2 centerpiece players that they won't trade, but it seems like every year that they've had them, there's always this rumor of like, oh, Embiid's gonna get traded. Oh, Simmons is gonna get traded.
Well, it's because every other player on the roster is getting traded,
right?
So they're the only 2 left. Like if they've traded away all 12 other players, I don't know how safe those 2 are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Celtics. I feel like the only team that that can beat them is the Raptors or the Bucks. So even then, if they face the Raptors, I feel like that'd be a good series. Yeah,
I would like to see them. I mean, I'd like to see them over the 76ers in any game.
Really,
they're just a better team, more fun to watch.
Yeah, and then so we had the Nuggets,
the Clippers, Mavs.
Oh, we're gonna talk. Okay, so the Mavericks destroyed the Clippers. That's
oh sweet.
Yeah, it's a tied series. It's a tied series now. Yeah, it's more of what you expected from the first game of Porzingis and Luka just demolishing the Clippers. If you watched that game, the Clippers were visibly upset because they just couldn't stop the Mavericks. Like if it wasn't like Luka driving down and like dunking it on someone, then they would drive and pass out to like Steph, and like he'd shoot a 3. Steph, yeah. He'd shoot a 3 in like a wide open 3. So then eventually they'd start guarding him, and Luka would just finish it off and dunk on him, right? So they just had no answers.
We talked about this before, the similarities between the Mavericks and the Lakers. I think that's why when these teams play the Clippers, it's such interesting basketball to watch because they almost complement each other. What one team excels at is not what the other one excels at stopping. And so it seems a shootout, but it's not your typical, Warriors Rockets just throwing it up shootout. It's like a early 2000s consistently scoring points type shootout, which is, I think, personally a lot more entertaining because when you do that, it's not just constant rebounds. There's steals and interceptions that are mixed in there that really keep the game momentum interesting.
Yeah, no, I just down with the Clippers. Let's go Mavs. I want the Mavs. Mavs in 5.
Next is the Magic beat the Bucks, and then they haven't had their game two yet. Oh, they
Yeah,
did.
they did.
Never mind.
It's a tied series. The Bucks came back
It's tied.
and actually played basketball.
Yeah.
it's
Chris Middleton out here being the he's the second highest paid player on that team, right? After his All-Star game.
who on the
Yeah, on the
mm,
Bucks, Chris Middleton.
I wouldn't know.
He got
I
that
don't
big
know the Bucks
contract,
contract situation honestly, but yeah, the Bucks
but he's
actually played
not been
basketball,
doing good.
and I just I feel bad for the Magic.
Poor
Honestly,
Magic.
it's
Like every year, whoever's the eighth seed in the East, it's like congratulations, you made it.
and
Now
you
here's
get
your
to get beat.
participation
Yeah,
trophy.
but last year, I think last year the Magic got into the playoffs, and I believe they played the Raptors, and they stole game one from the Raptors.
Yeah, they did.
And so, but then the Raptors
That means the
proceeded.
Bucks are gonna win this
Yeah.
finals this year. That's what it means.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, they could. I think they could, but definitely. And then the Raptors proceeded to just demolish everyone in their path. So you know what? The Magic might be the spark plug to a winning championship Eastern Conference team.
Well, don't forget the Raptors. They demolished everyone up until the Bucks. They were down 2-0, I think, on the Bucks, or maybe 3-0, and they had to go and win out to win it. But
I would.
It's like the Magic are the spark plug to get you to the
Eastern Conference
Finals.
Yeah.
And then after that, you gotta find your own spark because at that point, the team you're playing isn't a bum you can just run over. Because that's my problem with the East is it's so top heavy. Like
Yeah.
if you're not
top
a
4
top
team.
2 team, even top 2, like I feel like the top 2 teams are definitively better than the 3 and 4. It's just if you catch them on an off night, then you slip up and lose that game. But in a series, I don't see any team beating the top 2. That's why personally I prefer football. It's way easier for the underdog to come out on top.
Football.
So I think. I mean, imagine a single game series. We'd have the Magic going into the second round right now. Not the Bucks.
It'd be Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers versus who would the Lakers play in the second round?
They'd be playing the Rockets.
Right. So yeah, they'd be playing the Rockets, and then it'd be like Nuggets, Clippers. That whole series would go on, but
the 1 seeds would be the only one. I think they're the only ones who really got upset in the first games.
I believe so. Yeah. Crazy. At least the Raptors would still make it through though, because a bum Nets team. Which I mean, they played all right in the bubble, but they really shouldn't be where they are. Realistically, if you look at their roster and like how they're built, they have 0 superstars. Or some may argue that like Jared Allen and like Leverett, I want to say their other guard, they're like stars in the making, but like as it stands, they're not.
Yeah,
those players. It's and then you have.
I feel like there's teams in the other conference more deserving of the playoffs than
right
this team. Like if we switch to just the top 16 teams go, I think the playoffs would be a lot more interesting.
A lot more Western heavy though.
Want to watch. That's true, but
you
lose.
But I feel like the NBA is such it flips back and forth from being like a West dominated league to an East dominated. Right now we're just in the age of the West,
Yeah.
And then and then how have we gone through all the series yet? So the Nuggets, Jazz,
the Heat, Pacers.
Oh, okay, and the Nugget Jazz.
Pacers.
But the Heat have been just murdering the Pacers. They've gotten both games.
Yeah, I didn't expect much.
I mean, I'm kind of upset.
Oladipo is out, right?
Yeah, he is. But I mean, the Pacers were playing good.
I mean, T.J. Warren and Aaron Holiday aren't gonna. Oladipo played. He had 22 points in the last game.
Did he? Did he come
I don't have an excuse. I don't have an excuse for them now. Pacers,
what
are you doing?
Wait, I thought. When did he get into the bubble?
I don't know. He had 4 points the first game. He dropped 22. He had limited minutes though. He only played 9 minutes the first game.
I didn't know this. Pacers, what are you guys doing? Well, you know what?
The full 37 minutes though in the second game.
It
So I
might
don't
be
know.
a chemistry issue. All right, he just hasn't, fully adjusted to the bubble.
Maybe they maybe they're desperate. They're like, hey, you're not fully healthy, but you're gonna play.
I don't know. He was healthy. It's just he didn't want to go to the bubble, or was he? Was it an
Oh,
injury?
so
I don't
I
know.
know that he didn't play most of the season because of an injury. But I
Okay.
don't know if he healed by the time the bubble started up.
Okay. Well, I didn't know he was back. Honestly, that amazes me.
All right. But the Heat, I still, even with Oladipo, I expect the Heat to win. I just wouldn't expect them to, I don't know,
4-0'd.
4-0 them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh man, TJ Warren has completely cooled off. Yeah, it's sad. Actually, no, I think there's a reason he's cooled off is because whenever he plays Jimmy Butler, he absolutely just cannot play against Jimmy Butler. So
Any other team, they might have won, but not the Heat.
not the Heat, not the Heat. Very sad,
Right.
very sad indeed.
Next is the Thunder Rockets. So the Rockets won the first game
And the second one.
and the second one.
It is.
Those are both
It's a
in
clinic.
OKC or in OKC, right? Technically, those home games.
No, there's no home games in the bubble.
Unless you're the Orlando Magic.
Oh yeah, the Magic have home game the entire way
all
through.
Home games.
It's all home
Every
game.
game's a home game.
Yeah, no, it's the Thunder just aren't doing it. It's very depressing to watch.
Poor Thunder.
And it's not like
CP3, what are you doing, man?
it's a very beatable Rockets team because there's no
especially
Westbrook.
by this team. I think Chris Paul and Steven Adams match up really well against James Harden
and whoever they have running at center,
team.
Right? I think the tallest player on the Rockets is 5'6" or is 6'6", right?
It's like Robert Covington. He's 6'7".
Okay, but
he's
even
not
then,
good.
Steven Adams is still a big boy in comparison.
Yeah, Steven Adams is my man. 7 foot. Come on.
Like that is an easy baby dunk over that
Jason
man
Momoa,
child.
what are you doing, man? Step your game up.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
It's just
Thunder haven't been playing good.
Like a team, you have genuine, they're the underdogs, but you genuinely believe they could win. Like
They could, they really could if they just played good basketball. I'm not saying they haven't. It's just like if they could finish out games.
In any other sport, it's the coach's fault.
Right.
Like
basketball,
I feel like
the coaches can't really do that
ignored
much.
Almost entirely.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the coach can set up like a pick and roll to start off.
A coach of the year is the only coach that matters. Everyone else is irrelevant. It's so weird to me.
Talking about coaches, the Pelicans coach got fired. So there's going to be a new coach down in New Orleans. And then
that was a nice little setup you had there.
That's all to say.
The only reason I brought it up.
There's a new coach in New Orleans. They're still going to be a trash organization. They're not going to win anything with Zion. They're going to trade all their pieces away. They're going to lose Ingram in the offseason because he's a free agent. Just
move the Pelicans to the East because they're already on the other side of the Mississippi. So it would be perfect. So just move.
I think the divisions are still even. Or it would be uneven. I think they're even right now.
They would be. So you have to move someone else over to the West. But if you did that, then I think
or you could add an
easy shoe-in.
No, I don't think you. I think you have to add 2 expansion teams to even it out to 32.
No, you don't need to even it out. Just move the Pelicans to the East. And
then move someone else over
in the East to the West.
You're right. Okay, never mind. I want it to be 32 basketball teams though.
No, you just want that because 30 is literally a better number. It's rounder.
I like 32.
You wouldn't is if you are an NFL fanatic or if you just really want 50% of the league to make it into the playoff. Right now, there's more than 50%.
I like 32. 32 is a good, nice number.
We could move the Raptors to the West, and instead of having them be the Canada team, they could be
The-
the Toronto Utah Raptors.
uh, we already have a team in Utah, the Jazz.
But then the Raptors don't have to change their city name. It's a lot easier for advertising. You still are the Toronto Raptors, it's just a different Toronto.
All right. Do you want to talk? All right. Let's go into the draft. The NBA draft lottery was today. Um, so Minnesota, the Minnesota Timberwolves got the first overall pick, followed by the Golden State Warriors. Then the third overall pick is the Charlotte Hornets. Fourth, Chicago Bulls. Fifth, Cleveland Cavaliers. So those are the top 5 picks.
Mm-hmm.
This draft lottery, looking at the odds, really didn't surprise. Because actually, no, I lied. I lied right there. I feel bad for New York.
Atlanta is a surprise.
New York.
I don't think New York is a surprise, but I wouldn't expect them to be top 3.
No, well,
I
New
think
York
4 or 5.
Yeah, if they're projected to be like 4 or 5, they're 8. So
yeah, that is a big drop.
That is a big drop for New York.
Phoenix is. I don't feel like they did.
They're right where they're supposed to be.
Really?
Yeah. It's like
I just assume they're bad. As long as I've been in basketball,
they've been bad. They're projected. They were like the 10th.
I forget about Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton.
You forget that they have good players. It's just they can't perform like at all.
Yeah.
Detroit kind of snubbed, but 7 is kind of where they were projected at.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't really any like stories of a team this year.
Yeah, it's not like last year when New Orleans got the 1 and everyone's like, damn.
Yeah, the biggest jump I think is Charlotte to 4. I think that's the biggest jump forward. Other than that, it's kind of just expected. But, Cleveland, I suppose, is a big enough drop to 5 to counteract that because
they would have been the number 1 if you go off just record.
Right. Okay. There's the draft lottery. It is what it is. But I'm more interested in because in the little show for the draft lottery, the analysts were oh, we talked to the GM for the Warriors earlier today about what he would do if he had a number 1 overall pick, and he was like, you know what? We're most likely going to trade that pick to build our roster. So the Golden State, they're not going to really. There's no one in this draft that I think they should draft.
Yeah, I have not heard hardly anything about, and I was assuming it was about COVID, but I've tried looking into it, and it just seems like most of the prospects are pretty underwhelming compared to last year, at least.
Right. Last year, you had the whole hype around Zion and RJ Barrett, Ja Morant. These were players that that have panned out and are good. And 2 years ago, you had Luka. Yeah. Even then, Luka fell to the 5th overall pick, which is stupid in my mind. But I understand the stigma of foreign.
He got traded, didn't he? Or was it traded?
Well, he was a 3. He got picked by Atlanta.
And he got traded because Atlanta's stupid.
And then they traded down to the 5. They flipped picks, which I don't understand. There's probably some other picks that got flipped and traded, right? But it's I don't know.
I don't understand that. After you've picked the player, why would you flip back? Do you think there's a better player than the guy?
Well, they traded for what's his name? The guy that drops 30 in garbage minutes.
Trae Young.
Yeah, they traded for Trae Young, but they wanted Trae Young.
They traded to pick him, didn't they?
No, they were okay. The Atlanta Hawks were the 3rd overall pick. They picked Luka Doncic, and then the Mavericks with their 5th overall pick picked Trae Young. Then they traded picks.
Why didn't the Falcons just take
Trae
Young in the first place?
That's
what I don't understand. From my understanding of it was that the Mavericks wanted Luka, so they traded their pick before they technically drafted.
Yeah, okay. So on June 21st, 2018, Luka Doncic was selected with a third overall pick by the Atlanta Hawks. And then he was then traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for draft rights to Trae Young and a
Yeah,
protected future first round pick in 2019. So the following year, which I don't know what
yeah.
that pick came out to be.
I don't know. It was a protected first round, so wherever the freaking
So,
Mavs fell,
oop,
that's what the Hawks
I made a
got, I
mistake
think.
there. So then we can see what they got. Let me just look this up. What did out of the Luca trade? Uh, oh my goodness. Okay. Ooh, here's exactly what the Hawks acquired last night. Ooh. Okay, so by the looks of it, I think.
They got the 10th overall pick, right? Cam Reddish is who they got.
Oh yeah, they also got that out of it. They just swapped a bunch of picks. Yeah, they did. So I guess
I mean, would you rather have Trae Young and Cam Reddish or Luka Doncic?
Luca, you can just see how much better he is. He's so much better. Yeah, they traded a bunch of other players, but Luca's just so much better. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
undeniable. He's gonna be a MVP candidate in like next year, even. Like he's just that
yeah,
good. Um, yeah, no, I did. So what? You got a first round pick the next year out of it. He's
yeah.
like
Picks
Luca's
aren't
good.
as valuable in the NBA because it's not like the NFL. Like you see players, teams will give up three of their starters for a first round pick. In the NBA, it's not worth that. You're not going to get, a first round pick isn't going to get you Paul George, right? Players are worth more than picks are.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see a team literally pick a player and then trade him away to pick a theoretically worse player, because obviously the
Well,
lower your pick
picks
is, the less likely it is to be a good player.
and then
It
picks aren't
baffles
guaranteed
me.
too. Like what was it? A couple years or whenever the Cavaliers drafted, I forget his name, Andrew Bynum. Is that I believe that's his name, and he just
Mm-hmm.
was a total bust, and he was the first overall pick. Like picks aren't guaranteed. People are busts. Like if you have a player
Yeah.
right in front of you that you know is solid, which to be fair to the Hawks organization, there was a big stigma around Luca of like the I believe the two European players that were like similar to him before he got drafted like were busts in the NBA. But if you really look at it, the players that were like the European players that were drafted before him, like in the years past, were nowhere near like as good as him.
Yeah.
Like he was so much better in the European league than those guys. So it's like he's at worst a really good role player. You know what I mean? And I'd
Yeah.
take that over Trae Young, which I don't think he's going
Trae
to
Young at
become good,
worst is not making the roster. I don't
right?
remember there being a whole lot of hype around him. I remember hearing about Luca before the draft. I don't remember hearing about Trae Young before the draft. But maybe I'm wrong.
So I feel like the Golden State Warriors are going to trade that second overall pick to, or not even. I don't think they're going to even trade it to like a Lakers or someone else for a good player. I think they're more
Yeah.
likely going to trade it to like a New York
Like
or a
trade it to
Phoenix.
the Wolves, get D'Angelo Russell back.
Yeah, they're just going to trade back for D'Angelo Russell. Uh, so yeah, I feel
I don't know.
like
This draft, LaMelo is the only player I can mention by name who's projected to be in the
yeah,
top five.
Lamelo's. Yeah, I only got Lamelo.
And
There's other
and
players,
when
but
I
like
think of
I wouldn't
that, I'm
know.
like, LaMelo isn't even necessarily someone I would draft.
Well, Lamelo
So
has gotten a lot better.
he's good, but when you look at
He's a lot bigger
what
too. He's like six
when you look at
seven.
what the organizations have to deal with when drafting someone in the Ball family, I don't know that it's even if LaMelo turns out to be better than Lonzo, that's not saying a whole lot, you know?
Which the belief is around the league. Even Lonzo has said it that LaMelo is better than me.
Yeah, LaMelo's the best,
Hmm.
which I think is funny because I can remember a clip where LeVar Ball said, I told my other two boys they're not going to make it to the NBA. He's like, I know the odds. It's amazing I got one kid in there. The other two aren't going to make
Which, I mean, to be
it.
fair, even to
That's
have
not a bad statement, but
it's a
to
realistic statement.
actually tell them that and
Yeah.
then to tell them that as they're projected to go in the first round, like they were playing basketball at the high school and collegiate levels at the time.
Dude,
Like
no.
they could have
That
very well
Chino's
made it.
that Chino Hills team was killer. It
Yeah,
was,
it's like
it was
if
one of the
LeBron
best
told his
basketball
son, "You're
teams.
probably not going to make it because I made it." Like,
There's another guy on that Chino Hills basketball team that went to USC. That's, I believe, to be projected like 10th overall pick or something like that.
mm,
So they had some ballers on that. What, 2016? You want to refresh, man? Is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about the NFL real quick here. Now that we know that the Warriors are going to trade away their second overall pick for an Anthony or like a who could they even trade for?
Minnesota should draft LaMelo, and the Warriors will trade for him. Well,
Like, what player is up right now that they could trade for? I guess they could use it.
well, let's just, I don't know.
I don't know who they could trade for. Maybe they could.
They could trade their pick and a player on their team that has a big, like they could trade it in Draymond Green for just to clear up space
An
and maybe
Antetokounmpo
get something out of
or
it.
something. There's
Because you can look, I don't know who's going to be available next year. They might want to sign a free agent rather than.
yeah, I think they're more in the free agent market. Oh, okay. You know what? There's this rumor going around if the Lakers get dumped in the first round by the Trailblazers that they're going to go for Devin Booker because I feel like that's a big hole in the Lakers roster is point guard or shooting guard for that matter.
Shooting guard, yeah.
We really don't have that good guard in we have
That's
Rondo
what
and
Rondo
Alec
and
Caruso,
Danny
but it's
Green,
like
I feel like is technically supposed to be filling that role, but it's
we don't have
not.
there's not because Danny Green is too specialized in like making 3 points and which he can't even hit most of the time, or these past couple
like,
games he hasn't hit.
When you hear people describe the Lakers, it seems like they kind of lump Danny Green or Kyle Kuzma into that shooting guard role as this guy who's going to score for you to complement LeBron playing point because that's essentially what he's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds good on paper, I guess, to have your 5 starters be LeBron, Danny Green, Kuzma, AD, and then whoever else you want to fill in.
It's either Dwight or JaVale, which I like both of those players. Those guys are killers.
But when you actually, play the
Look
game,
at it.
it's like you can't necessarily have all 5 of those guys on the court at the same time.
Right, like Danny Green, if he's missing his shots, KCP is just he's so inconsistent. Like the beginning of the season, I thought they were going to trade him. I genuinely did because he was so terrible. Like
personally, I feel like JR fits that role better.
JR is great. I love JR. I mean, can you not love JR?
Just ignore like a few black spots on his career here and there.
Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. You can't blame him. All right. Oh, another fun little tidbit about JR though is he went on an interview a while ago and was like, yeah, man, I hate Hennessy. Like, I absolutely hate drinking Hennessy. I don't know where the rumor came or people call him the Henny God.
Yeah.
He's like, I hate that stuff. It's nasty. It doesn't go down easy. And I was like, oh, man. He's still the Henny God, though.
We tried to kill the meme, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It does not work. Okay. So the NFL. Jalen Hurd the 49ers wide receiver.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Down for the rest of the season, which he was down last season too, so I don't think it should affect anything.
So the thing with the Niner camp is they're always betting on these injured players to come back and be healthy, right? And they're like, we're gonna get even better. Jerick McKinnon's gonna come back next season and he's gonna be worth all the money. Jalen Hurd's gonna come back next season, he's gonna be worth it. And it's like, when will you learn that these players who get injured fresh out of college genuinely probably aren't going to have very healthy careers? Okay, taking that risk isn't the thing you want to do every time. Now, if it's like a 5th round or 6th round pick and you take the risk, okay. But if you're doing it with your 2nd and 3rd picks, then that's too much of a gamble. It's not going to pan out.
Yeah, I just wanted to start off with him to highlight the fact that like NFL players, it's the start of training camp, I believe, a couple days ago was the first day that NFL players could use pads or were allowed to practice in pads. And so you have players like him that got injured and are out for the rest of the season. You have, what's his name? The lineman, I forget, I'm blanking. Gerald McCoy, that got a quad injury and is out for the season. Which, interesting fact about Gerald McCoy, he's actually cut from the Dallas Cowboys. He's no longer on their roster. He's no longer a part of the team. Which, even more interesting, is in his contract, there was a quad injury clause. So the most specific, like, there was a right quad injury clause in his contract that completely null and void it. So he's not getting paid any money. None. The only money he gets from the Dallas Cowboys is his signing bonus. And that's it. So that's rough. It's really rough. I don't know. I look at that and I think, wow, that is just terrible. From an organization standpoint.
Here's the guy you were telling me about. I'm looking at the NFL's storylines, and Tom Brenneman was pulled from Fox's NFL games for using anti-gay slur on air during Reds contest.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you mess up that badly, especially now when you have to be so censoring of what you say on these big media platforms?
If you listen to the clip of him saying the offensive F word and not the the one towards people of the gay community, the one offensive term that people use there, when he says it, he's referring to a city, but it's not clear what city, because which I think is I think that's funny, because
like, you're gay. Who's you? Just you.
Like it cuts in when he says his line, but like you don't get any context to his line. So it's like, what do you? I want to hear the full conversation, because like obviously something he was talking about made him come up with the response that he came up with. So
it's like, is he wrong though? That's what I want to know.
Does he have a point? No.
On more serious notes, Washington's head coach Ron Rivera was diagnosed with skin cancer half an hour ago.
I saw that. Yeah, that's just tough on Washington. This whole offseason has been a terrible offseason for the Washington football organization, which, John, I want to let you know, we got to be careful on fantasy draft night, because the Washington football organization is just called football team on most draft websites. No. So
you could accidentally pick up a free agent. It just be like, NFL. That's
no. If you like, you know how defenses are placed as like.
I'll just say football team defense.
It says football team defense. So it's real rough. So we got to be careful for that. Everyone out there, be careful. Yeah. Double check what you're drafting.
Even the offense, like ignoring the off season, this upcoming season doesn't look promising for them.
No, it does. Well, the only upside that they have is the Alex Smith story. That's the only happy, good news out of Washington.
But even then, That's not the best possible news. The best possible news is, hey, Dwayne Haskins is finally playing good. We're gonna start him, and he's gonna carry us, but he's not.
No.
Alex Smith, your
I think Alex Smith
projected
is going to
backup
start.
quarterback doing good
Yeah.
is what constitutes good news in that camp, and I think that says something.
My favorite, there's this clip going around of like, the caption is like, let's check in on Washington's quarterback situation, and it's like Alex Smith throwing the prettiest deep ball you've ever seen, and then followed up by Dwayne Haskins just like overthrowing his target by like 5 yards.
Just shows those two clips, and it goes, and I think that says enough
Yeah,
about
and
this.
it's like, oh man. I mean, obviously you're not going to make every pass in practice, but it's like
Yeah.
it's not a good look. I think Alex Smith is in a better position to start than Dwayne Haskins, even though Dwayne Haskins
He's not
is
that
the more
old. Like, he's old, but
he's old for a
when you look at,
quarterback,
like,
or not even
Big
for a quarterback.
Ben's, not for a quarter. Look at like Big Ben's and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's 36, so I would give him at most.
He was
at
drafted the
absolute
same year as
most,
Aaron
4 more
Rodgers.
years. Yeah,
So yeah, it's just the injury
he
really
could be their
pushed him
quarterback
back.
for the next couple of years. It's just, is Dwayne Haskins gonna sit for those years? I don't think so.
He's probably gone, honestly.
4 years. I don't know. He only played half a season, so I think the team's still gonna have hope.
Yeah, there's still hope for
him.
him.
I would hate for them to do what who was it? The team that kept benching and starting. I think it was the Bucks. Did they keep benching Fitzpatrick and Jameis?
Oh, the Dolphins. The Dolphins. This past season, are you talking about?
No.
Josh.
2 years ago when remember Fitzmagic went off.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Him in Game 5, he didn't do good, and so they benched him and put Jameis in.
Yeah, I think Jameis was suspended for like the first 4 games of the season, and then Fitzmagic was like popping off. Like if you had him, you were set.
Yeah,
like he was killing it, and then Jameis came in and like they kept switching quarterbacks, like whoever.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like they'd wait until a quarterback got cold and bring in the other one.
Yeah,
it wasn't like.
I remember one game they switched him mid-game. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do that. Like, you've been switching him back and forth over the period of games, and now you're literally like halftime. Fitzmagic for going in. Jameis didn't do good that first half, and I could really see a team run as badly as the Redskins doing something like that. Like,
well, they're not the Redskins anymore. We have to make sure that they're the Washington football team
until they have a real name.
Until further notice, yes.
They don't deserve anything better than the Redskins right now with how they're doing.
It's a terrible. It's just terrible. It's utterly terrible down there. There's not much you can even do about it too. Or we can't do anything. We're not in the football organization or anything. But it's like it's just like it's a fire. It's a legitimate fire.
The real positive I see in that whole team is their defensive line with Jonathan Allen. They drafted some other guy.
Chase Young.
They have Ryan Kerrigan.
Right, that's his name.
Chase Young. Young, but I'm thinking of someone else. But yeah, Chase Young. Like their defensive line, they've been building it for the last couple of years, and it looks really, really good. But I mean, 2 years. Ryan Kerrigan's a free agent this year, so unless they sign him, and Redskins fans are going to tell you everything like, oh, he's the best player, he's the most underrated linebacker ever. Then when it comes time to pay him, they'll be like, doesn't do what Von Miller does. He doesn't do what Khalil Mack does. He shouldn't get paid. And then he's going to leave and go to the Packers like Preston Smith did. Yeah. So it's just frustrating to see them like harvest good players for the beginning or get a good player in free agency and then just waste him. Like Josh Norman went from being the best corner in the league to being completely irrelevant. No one even thinks of the Redskins secondary.
I think we should end it on this. A video of Cam Newton surfaced of him dancing at a Patriots practice. Whoa. I think that's
not okay.
That is not okay. It's not. I don't know. I don't think he knows where he's at.
Gonna come and whoop him right into place.
I don't think he knows where he's at.
Is the Senate. No dancing in his congregation.
Well, okay. Do you think? I think Bill Belichick might be lighting up, or that's the right terms there. He might be getting nicer.
Bill Belichick's weakening. We're witnessing the fall of the Patriots dynasty, and it started with Cam Newton dancing in practice.
So the Patriots released their like roster, and they have Jared Stidham and Cam Newton listed as like co-starters, and that's hilarious in my opinion. I'm curious. I didn't look over it that deeply, and it's such an obvious like Cam Newton's going to be the starter situation, where it's like, why do you even have? I mean, I guess like to keep Jared Stidham, like to not just demolish his ego, right? But like, I'm just curious if the Patriots have been doing this when Tom Brady was there, like Tom Brady
starters, Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo,
right? It's like they're co-starters, or Tom Brady and what's the longtime backup they also had?
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, and Brian Hoyer. It's like, or even if they have like co-starter D lineman, like it's like, I feel like, especially
the only position I could see them having co-starters at is
running back,
because they run through them so much.
Yeah, a running back committee, which I mean, most NFL teams have a running back committee. I feel like that's the trend in running backs.
Especially when you look at a team like the Niners and even the Patriots, who are succeeding so much doing that, like not having a definite starter. The problem is that all of them can come calling for money when it's contract time.
Like, yeah, that's the big issue with committee running back rooms, but like it works so much better. Like the Saints had a committee. Yeah, the Rams are switching to a committee.
Would you rather have 4 guys you're paying $3 million a year, or 1 guy you got to pay $20 million?
Yeah, mathematically it makes more sense. Yeah, mathematically, like money wise, it makes more sense. Like you hand the ball,
it makes more sense,
right? You hand the ball off to the hot hand, like whichever running back is just demolishing that defense. You hand it off to him. Like it makes more sense. It's just the downfall of running back by committee is always going to be, well, after
eventually they're going to leave. Yeah.
After this 2-year contract is up, we can't keep paying him $2 because he's going to want like $10 million, right? And if you start paying your
draft your
committee,
that's the one position you have to draft well. Then
every year, like
every year you got to draft your next running back,
because I mean one's going to go, and you can't stop pumping them out.
Ever since Marshawn Lynch left, the Seahawks have been doing that, and they've been doing it really well since he left, because I think they've led the league in rushing the last 2 years.
Yeah, they've been having a really good committee. Impressive. The only downfall of a Seattle Seahawks running back is week 16, week 17, they always get murdered for some reason. They just get absolutely destroyed. You don't see a health.
The benefit is that
they make it to the playoffs.
You make it to the playoffs, and then you got Russell Wilson to carry your team. Who needs running backs? We have a quarterback who's a running back.
Anything else you want to bring up before we end the show here?
No. That's all I've got.
All right. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you all on the flip side. Tune in next week on Tuesday when we drop our next episode.